Good evening and namaste. Welcome to our very special Savasana Yoga class, where in this class, it's basically just a whole hour long of Shavasana. And since we cover the Shavasana throughout the entire class, you won't have to worry about doing it at the end. So check back next week when we do this class. The format will be 50 minutes long moving forward. So from here, let's just find ourselves seated. Since we will be on the mat the whole time, you want to make sure you have your props available. I recommend, since this is yin yoga, blocks, and I like to use a pillow or a bolster. I have my good old couch cushion here. You can also use bed cushions as well. But let's just sit here for a moment, spreading the flesh of our sits bones in easy pose, switching our legs around here. We're just going to take a moment to ground ourselves. Deep inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth. And I hope you've taken a time to set up your yoga station. As you can see, I have mine all set up with my essential oil diffuser, some crystals. I've cleansed my space and I am ready to be here for you. So let's just deep breath, getting our mind into our yoga class, forgetting the traffic, letting go of all of that. Getting focused so we can start our class. And as always, I'll share my intention with you. I intend to lead you through a very relaxing yin yoga class here, hoping to release the tension from the day, as today's class theme is evening release. We will be in some wonderful poses today, with one of my favorite poses as an apex, a sleeping swan. So I hope you are ready for that. In through the nose, out through the mouth. Let's find ourselves getting started. Our first asana is the legs up the wall pose. So if you have a wall behind you like I do, you can go ahead and get yourself into position there. If you do not, I'm going to show you how to get into that with a bolster or a pillow. I like to use a block for this pose as it's a little bit more secure for me. What you want to do is you want to lay yourself back on the mat here. Send your hips up just a bit. Place the block underneath your lower back. Once the block is here under your lower back, you're going to place your arms down. Inhale your knees to the chest. Exhale, extending the legs fully up. We're going to hold it here for 30 minutes. If you'd like, or 3 minutes, not 30. If you'd like, you can keep your knees bent in that pose as well. So everyone get into your position, whether you're on the wall here or you have your legs just up into the air. Inhale up to exhale, releasing into this pose. And you can even leave your hands on your belly if you'd like as well. Holding here for 3 minutes. Now keep an eye on the time. Remember, drop your knees if you're finding it too hard to keep them up, keeping them parallel to the floor. Feel free to adjust your body as needed in this pose. Just over a minute and a half has passed. Excellent. Let's go ahead and finish up in this pose. If you're on the wall, let's find ourselves seated back on the mat. If you're being supported by a block, find your legs back down on the mat. Gently lift your bottom and remove your block here. Let's find ourselves laying, excuse me, everyone I told you to seat. Let's find ourselves laying here on the mat once more. We're going to take our block here, or even a pillow or a bolster, and we're just going to put it to the side. We're going to keep that pose here, extending it right on the hip. We're just going to exhale, draping our body over the pillow, coming into a gentle side stretch here. Now you may keep your knees bent, and using a block for support in between there. If you're doing that, keep your legs parallel to the mat here. You can also keep a block between your ankles as well for support for realigning the hips. But we're just going to hold here on this side, coming into that gentle side bend for 3 minutes again. And remember to adjust. You want to get a good release here off of the side of the body, really feeling the stretch here on the opposite side. Your upper hand can rest gently on the pillow, on your waist, however you'd like. Let's get into situation here. Coming into the side bend, holding here for 3 minutes. I think I'm going to remove the bolster between my feet, just between my knees here. Perfect. Put the block here. Excellent. About 1.5 minutes has elapsed. Reassess your body. If you'd like to remove the block from between your feet, please go ahead. If you want to put a block between your head and your shoulder here, you can do that as well. About 1.5 minutes to go. Let's find ourselves taking our last breath in this pose. And after we exhale, let's remove our bricks, our blocks. You can just roll yourself over. I will keep facing the camera to benefit you all here, but I'm just going to switch sides, coming into that wonderful side bend pose here. Remember, keeping the legs parallel to the front of the mat. Inhale, sending that arm up. Exhale, just drape yourself lovingly over. I'm going to go ahead and use a brick because I have a headset on the side, so I'm going to use my hand actually. But let's hold here, breathing, relaxing into this sensuous pose. About a minute and a half has passed. Go ahead and assess if you feel like you might need to remove a block or readjust your body. A little bit more than a minute and 15 to go. And let's take our last breath in this pose here. Let's find ourselves coming up to seated. This time it's seated on the mat. We're going to keep our pillow or bolster and our box nearby. We're going to come into our caterpillar pose. And for that, let's find our blocks here. Let's find our legs in between, the blocks in between our legs here, keeping our legs up. Let's just adjust the blocks so they can support our pillow here. And what we're going to do is just take a nice inhale, arms up, exhale, coming overhead, placing the arms onto the pillow, bending over. You can adjust the pillow as needed, moving it a little bit further if you're not nearly as flexible to move it. If it's not in your practice to bend forward as it is certainly not in mine. It's out of the way here. We're going to hold this for 3 minutes. If having the pillow too close is not in your practice, you may also move it slightly back a little bit here. Pop your knees just a bit outside of the pillows and bring your head. You will get the same delightful, loving stretch in that lower back. And you can even extend your arms out if you'd like. Excellent. We have a little bit more, about a minute and a half has elapsed. So body check here. About halfway through, you want to see if you need to adjust anywhere, keeping that comfortable, making sure that our shoulders are lowered from our ears. We have about a minute and a half to go. See with each exhale if you can extend just a little bit farther forward there. Really stretching out that lower body or that lower back. Make sure your neck is relaxed, your shoulders are down. I'm going to take our last breaths here in this pose. And after our last exhale, let's see ourselves coming forward here. Let's remove our pillow and remove our blocks to the side, just in case you may need them for the next pose, which is puppy. Let's find ourselves here in our tabletop pose. Let's put our bricks here on each side of the mat. I like to push it up to the top just to adjust. These will be adjustable as we move forward. So we find ourselves here in the middle of the mat. We're just going to drop our chest down, coming into puppy pose here, extending the arms over, dropping our chest to the mat and our head. If you'd like, you can also rest on your pillow here, but we just want to keep the knees open in puppy pose here. Getting that deep shoulder stretch. You can even remove the blocks if you'd like. Just place your head on your block here, extending your arms that way. Let's hold here 3 minutes. Let's do a quick body check here. Our shoulders down from our ears, relaxing our head, relaxing our chest into the mat. Are we breathing into our belly? Are our hips still supported? Maybe we want to try the block in a different way. I think I'll put mine on my chest here. Still have another minute to go. Let's take our last three full belly breaths in this pose here. And after that last exhale, let's see ourselves coming back up into tabletop. Removing our blocks, however we had them. Let's come to easy seat here, bringing our feet together in Badakanasana. We're just going to come into a supported Badakanasana. So you may come into this pose in different ways. You may use your blocks here as a support, or you may throw your pillow on top of your blocks here to support as well. Just depends on how you'd like it. So spread out the flesh of the sits bones here. I'm going to grab my ankles, resting my forehead on this block, and we're going to keep it here for 3 minutes. Such a wonderfully restful pose, don't you think? Remember to release your shoulders from your ears. Release the tension of your neck. Let your legs fall to the wayside. Just breathe. Oh, and remember to unclench your jaw too. Now let's take our last breaths in this pose as we come up, removing the blocks from in front of us. We're going to keep ourselves here in this butterfly pose, but we're going to come into a half butterfly here. So Just going to check for questions. Very good. Okay. Let's keep our leg extended out. Let's extend that left leg here. Let's bring exactly just like this. Let's bring our right sole of our foot to the inside of the left leg here. And you can either sit in a meditative pose. I like to use power pose of choice, or you can go ahead and rest your block on your knee as you come forward here, grabbing onto the calf. It's however you'd like to do it this evening, yogi's choice, of course. So let's get into our pose, taking a deep inhale. Let's exhale, coming into this half butterfly here. Okay, I just have issue with this pose. I'm not very flexible, which is why I know I need to do it. I'm going to use a pillow. Here we go. Remember to release the tension from your shoulders, relax your neck, let your shoulders drop from your ears so that you're not hunched over as you're sitting. You want to be nice and relaxed, relaxing down. Oh my God, this is terrible. Excellent. Let's take our last breaths in this pose. Let's inhale, coming up forward here. Let's remove our blocks. Extend both legs, shaking them out just a little bit there. It's a little hard to keep one leg in one pose and the other in another. Let's bring ourselves shifting, bringing the sole of our left leg this time to our right thigh. Placing your pillow on your lap if you had it just like me. Let's put the block back, taking an inhale. Let's go ahead, dropping ourselves here on our block, holding here, resting into this pose. Make sure you relax your shoulders, releasing your jaw. Let's take our last breath in this pose here. And after we exhale, let's remove our props from our positioning. Let's find ourselves coming into our sleeping swan. So as you know what that is, that would be our pigeon pose here, but in yin yoga, we call it sleeping swan. Let's find ourselves in our tabletop pose here. Let's slide that right leg forward as we extend our left, straightening it, bringing it, onto our toes. Sliding that foot up. Now, your front leg does not have to be parallel to the front of the mat. But what you do need to have is your hips squared forward. So you just want to keep making sure that your hips are squared forward by pulling back on your front hip and pushing forward on your back hip. So the front hip would be the right one. You want to pull back that front hip, push forward on this hip here. That'll keep you nice and squared forward. Using a block if you need to support the hip on the other side. Let's either use a pillow or a bolster. Let's come down here, dropping our chest, coming down into our sleeping swan. We're going to hold here for a few minutes, breathing deep into this pose, relaxing. Make sure we keep that back leg here, and I know you can see it. There it is. You can see it parallel to the side of the mat. Remember, pull that right hip back and send that left hip forward, getting those squared hips to the mat there. Relax your body and allow yourself to slowly drop into this pose. Take a last couple of breaths here in this pose. 3 more breaths. And after that last exhale, let's find ourselves coming back into tabletop once more. Let's remove our props from here. I'm going to move this to the side. And let's switch our bodies around. I'm just going to pull the left leg this time forward, sending the right back into that extended march. Remember, this time we're going to push the left hip back and the right hip forward. So if you see here, it kind of locks it into place, extending that right foot here. Let's bring the block coming here into my extended sleeping pigeon, keeping that back leg, extended leg, nice and parallel to the side of the mat here. And I'm a little bit tighter on this side, so I'm definitely going to need it on this side. Let's relax ourselves down, coming into our sleeping swan. Excellent. Keeping those hips squared to the mat, go ahead and relax your jaw, pull your shoulders down from your ears. We're just holding here in this pose. Let's take 3 last breaths in this pose. And let's find ourselves pushing back up, removing our props, coming back into tabletop pose here. Let's find ourselves seated on the mat, Coming into easy seat here. Let's see our feet coming into cobbler's pose as we come into our Supta Badakanasana. So we're just going to take our block, placing it here behind our back in a T formation, or this way. Just going to rest, draping ourselves over our blocks, releasing our lower back. Here we are. Getting comfy, draping over. You can even use your bolster if you'd like. I like to use my blocks so I can release my head over the bricks. Let's hold here in this pose, just breathing. Let's do a body check. Are we unclenching our jaw? Do we need to reassess the bricks in any way? Keep breathing, about a minute and a half to go. Let's take our last breaths in this pose here. 2 more breaths. And let's find ourselves coming back to seated here as gently as we can. We're going to continue the next set of asanas as we sit upward. This next asana pose is going to have us in a bit of a meditative position. So let's grab our blocks. We're going to come into fire log. We definitely want to place one. We're going to place our right leg on top here. So let's help that right leg up as we just place a block or a pillow underneath that knee here. And if you'd like, you can go ahead and place another block underneath on your knee here on this side to keep your leg at an even pose. As I am not quite equipped for the flexibility, I'm just going to support my right knee here with this block. I'm also going to place my hands into the power mudra here by interlacing my fingers to the back and then touching my index and my thumbs together, resting gently in my lap. And we're just going to hold here, dropping our eyes, focusing on our breath. Keep breathing as we roll the shoulders back. You can close your eyes, keeping ourselves here in this pose. And body check. How are we feeling here? Do we need to spread the muscles and flesh of our sits bones aside to have ourselves properly held in this pose? Are we unclenching our jaw? Can we unpeel our tongue away from the roof of our mouth? Dropping the shoulders more. It's all right if your mind wanders. Just keep bringing it back to your breath. Another minute and a half to go. Let's take our last breath in this pose for this side. Let's remove our block, releasing our hands from our mudra, extending our legs in front of us. We're just going to give them a gentle shake out here. These hip and opener poses sometimes can be a little challenging for us. So let's switch our legs around, bringing our right leg this time to the bottom, our left leg being on top. Let's place that block on our left ankle or right ankle, dropping the left knee here onto there, onto that block, coming into our fire log pose. Now you may put your hands back into the power mudra or do another mudra of choice. I think I will just do your good mudra of power here, of general knowledge, or even resting the hands. That works as well too. But roll the shoulders up and back, releasing the tongue from the top of the mouth here, unclenching the jaw, coming into our fire log pose, focusing on our breath. Let's take 3 more breaths in this pose. And after our last exhale, let's release our hands from our mudra. Move our props aside, and we're going to come into our Shavasana. But instead of laying back in our Shavasana, as we always do, just complete corpse pose, we're going to do it a little differently today. If you have a pillow, go ahead and use your pillow. We can lay back on that. We're going to bring our legs into Stag Pose. So let's find ourselves laying on the mat with our feet firmly planted here, coming into bent knees. Let's take an inhale. And as we exhale, let's drop our legs over to the left, twisting the legs, coming to stag leg here. Now, you may also use a block if you have one to support your knees, however you may feel today. But about halfway through, I will cue you over to change, just like we would in a normal Shavasana. Let's release in here before we finish our class this evening. Let's take our last 3 breaths in this pose. Let's find ourselves exhaling our knees up to the ceiling once more, taking an inhale and then dropping them over to the right, coming into that twisted pose here as we finish out this final asana in our class. And take your last 3 breaths in this pose. And with your final exhale, extend your legs out in front of you. And tonight, before we come up from our Shavasana, I'd like to read for you from the Daily Stoic. As we move into a new month, this month's topic is on unbiased thought. Today's reading is entitled The Color of Your Thoughts. It reads, "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in your thought. for the human spirit is colored by such impressions. Marcus Aurelius. If you bend your body into a sitting position every day for a long enough period of time, the curvature of your spine changes. A doctor can tell from a radiograph or an autopsy whether someone sat at a desk for a living. If you shove your feet into tiny, narrow dress shoes every day, your feet begin to take on that form as well. The same is true for your mind. If you hold a perpetually negative outlook, soon enough, everything you encounter will seem negative. Close it off, and you'll become closed-minded. Color it with the wrong thoughts, and your life will be dyed the same. Very wise. Food for thought. And with that, I invite you to bring a little bit of movement into your body by wiggling your toes and wiggling your fingers. Inhale your arms up overhead, stretching your body as much as you need to bring any movement back into yourself here. As this class was mostly restful, you can find your way into easy seat and meeting me on the mat here. And before we leave, as always, we will close out with final thoughts and a blessing. Excellent. Let's inhale those hands up and overhead, exhaling, bringing them down into prayer pose. Well, thank you everyone for joining me this class this evening. I hope you enjoyed the new 50-minute format as we are taking a lovely, lovely Savasana Yoga Yin Yoga class. And as always, I'd like to send you out by saying, be the light that you wish to see in the world. See the light that you wish to see in the world. Everyone has got a little light under the sun. Have a great rest of your evening. I'll see you here next Thursday for Savasana Yoga at 5:10, and we'll be 50 minutes long. Have a great rest of your day. Om Shanti Shanti. Good night, everyone.